ancestors. Everybody's so quiet, like, this one entered our bodies, our bones. Don't worry, to keep playing in the background. I just want us to meet up with time. So we're going to be this session. God bless you for your session. Thank you for being vulnerable. That's why I love you. Thank you for sharing that part of you. God bless you as well. So we're going to be looking at the power of the mind, which is detoxifying toxic thoughts with God's word. That was the essence of playing that spoken word for us. And this session is going to cover what the importance of detoxifying is, what are emotional scars, and then we get into unpacking the baggage. You heard when our panelist was talking about that there's something she has reserved for the unpacking, because there's an unpacking session, and that's what it means to detoxify. So quickly, before I start, I just want to share my story. As a 5 years old, I wasn't up to 6. My mom is a single mother. It's a normal story. Everybody says, we know this is a story. Like, I wear it on my sleeve because I love single mothers a lot. So my mom was a single mother. Yeah, she's still a single mother. Well, she's still alive, so she's still a single mother. And I am still a sensitive child. I'm very sensitive. And that's why I have so much empathy. I can look at you and know your needs. So I saw the struggles my mom was going through. And one of the greatest struggles my mother had was waking up very early. She had a job at an oil company where she was a chef. My mom cooks very well. That's where we learned that cooking. He can testify. I cook very well. So my mom cooks. She was a chef with Weebros in River State, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. And my mom wakes up at 2 a.m. Then we're staying in one room. She needs to prepare. My sister is just 2 years older than I. So my sister became the mother of somebody or 2 years older than. Just imagine, I was not up to 5. So she would wake us up and tell my sister, hey, Rejoice, when you wake up, you warm this food, make sure you put it in this plate, take it to school. And my sister would be like, listen to me, you need to eat, make sure you bath your sister. And my sister that is 2 years older than me is bathing me. You can imagine how we just carry soap, carry food like that, and just go to school. And sometimes when we come back from school, we're so lonely. My landlady had to call my mom, and her landlady rather, and told my mom, your children are too young for this. She said, if I don't do it, they won't go to school. We're going to private schools then. They won't eat. I can't sleep with men to give them house and food. And so my mom looked at us and sat us down and said, I want to take you to stay with my family member, my siblings. She didn't know that was the worst mistake of our life because our siblings dealt with us. So she said, because I can't take both of you to stay in one person's house, so I'll take you, me, to the elder brother that does not have a child. So you're going to be like the child in their house, and they're getting a bit old. So you, my sister, I'll take you to Enugu. I'll take you to Onitsha to stay with my elder brother. He said, okay. And so my mom took me to Onitsha. It's a state in Nigeria. And she paid school fees. St. Mary's private school. My mom likes private school. That's why she was working hard. She doesn't like government school. She paid the school fees, and then she left me there with all my stuffs. And my mom left. You know, it's not this Gen Z time where you have phones where you can call. My mother's brother, for you to know, he was an Anglican priest. That's this church. That's my mother's family church. But they were the worst human beings on earth. The pain they caused me, I carried it till marriage. My husband can tell you. I had many demons. It wasn't rape. It wasn't husband. It was childhood trauma. They beat me to the point where, you know fish, raw fish, you know fish. We all know fish, right? Okay, so Rat got into the kitchen and ate some part of the fish that she bought. And then she wakes up very early in the morning. As a matter of fact, I wasn't up to 6, so I wake up by 4 a.m. every day at that age to work. And then she woke me up. How dare you allow Rat to eat this fish? How am I supposed to beat Rat or something? Mind you, I'm re-establishing I'm not up to 6. I'm not up to 6 years, just so you know. I can call the year and you calculate the year I was born. I wasn't up to 6. And she said, start eating the fish. What? Eat the raw fish. and this woman ate the raw fish. And that is not it. I threw up. You know, you can't eat raw fish by 4. So I threw up, and she said, pack your vomit and eat. And I did that. And this woman washes bathroom with her toothbrush. Do you know bathroom? Washroom. Yeah, I use my toothbrush to wash the washroom. And I use it to brush my mouth. This woman doesn't eat food except it's leftover, whatever they leave in their plates. This woman was thrown from 2-story building. You know, she just threw me. You know, I'm still a kid. So she threw me from the 2-story building. I broke my leg. He massaged that leg even in marriage. You can imagine how many decades later. Why am I sharing this? Because we talk of detoxify. You'll be wondering, what do they have to detoxify? I have to detoxify. My husband can do something, I'll be like, are you okay? Is something wrong with you? He'll just, wow.
Where did that come from?
Up to today, I can't tell my mom half of the things the brother's wife did to me. Just, I don't want her to die. The only person I've shared the full details is my husband. And why teaching? Because my mom would die. I just gave her little and she was panicking. That's trauma. And childhood trauma doesn't just disappear. Marital trauma can disappear. But the pain you give to a child, it doesn't disappear. Is it the verbal abuse? That's like bathing. Verbal abuse is nothing. I started hawking because how will my mom know? She's far away, there's no telephone. I was hawking. I don't eat. I don't wear good clothes. And then the worst part, I don't know if this lipstick is covering that part. I wanted to show you and then I start teaching. So she said, I didn't wash the plate very well. And I said, and you know, at that age, you're living in fear. So even if you're washing dishes, it's like, I didn't wash the dishes very well. And so, but she's going to teach me a lesson. So she brought knife. You know knife you use in cooking? She added little palm oil. Okay, for those of you that don't know palm oil, it's red oil that Africans, Nigerians use in cooking. Soup. Use it making soup. So she added it at the tip of the knife and she placed it, you know, then in stove they use. She put it in the stove and it heated and she said, open your mouth. So I opened my mouth. She burnt this lip. It was rotten. There was no treatment. And they were Anglican priests. They were priests. And I carried the injury in church. And then people started telling her, what happened? Did she fall? Oh yeah, she fell. And then the woman said, this is going to kill her because the wound was getting rotten. And finally, she took me to the pharmacy. It was coming back from the pharmacy to treat me. Was when she threw me down from 2-story building. Threw me down. That I went there and I wanted to tell them what happened to me. You know, as a child now, they were asking, how did you fall? I said, no, it's knife. And then I realized myself. I just wanted to understand that women are the strongest gender on earth. If you don't agree, you can take it to court. Women remember everything. Remember, we're the ones that remember our anniversary, remember birthdays, remember the first kiss, remember the kiss you didn't even give. We remember everything, the good things, the bad things. And this is why we hold on to things so much. For example, you might have an issue with your spouse, and the man is watching football. And you're there saying, if he doesn't apologize, he'll see himself today. And then the next thing he passes, I don't know about you, man, or Suffer. What are we eating? And you're so like, what is wrong with you? You just got me upset. And then when? When? Oh, is it that? I know we're joking. What? Joking? I wasn't joking. I was very serious. That's how women are. We can hold on to things that are memorable, things that are not memorable, things that are pleasant, things that are not pleasant. And where are all these memories stored? In the mind. So when we always saw this ugly, terrible situations, in my case, it was this one. I just shared little. You can imagine I stayed there for 2 years. It was hell. Hell for 2 years. And I sleep on the bare floor, just so you know. I sleep on the bare floor. And we stay at the 10th floor. The way on those that stayed in the east, you know the way east is, the story buildings get up to 10th floor. So we live on the 10th floor, and I must fetch water. So I come down to fetch like 3 drums of water. You know the Nigerian drums. I must fetch those waters every month. I don't know who uses the water because they didn't have a child. And then lastly for it, before I go on, the one that actually broke the camel's back, that I remember as a child, I laid a curse on them and they never gave birth. So she's always putting this pepper, you know this pepper, we call it tatashi. She'll blend it and say, you did this, you did not obey my instruction. Very hot pepper. So she will grind it and put in my vagina, put in my nose, put in my mouth. Even in marriage, my husband could tell you, intercourse used to be like it's painful because my vagina had been damaged as a child. So I had to do a lot of detoxifying to know that the manhood is not pepper. I need to. He's here. I'm glad there are no other men because I wouldn't have been able to share this part. You know, I had to do that detoxifying to know that no, it's not pepper, and also to know the only person that does pepper in our house today, if I'm not back home where my daughter can do it, is him, because of that trauma. I don't touch pepper. If I touch pepper when I'm cooking and if he's not back from work, if you see the way I dress up to do pepper, this is something that happened as a child that has ruined me that has stopped me from touching pepper. That is how strong trauma can be. If I should touch pepper, I will start breathing in pain. I will start, wherever I am, I will start, because of what somebody did to me. And I remember as a child, it was so hot and I hadn't eaten the previous day. And I just said, Lord, may they not have any child. And it touched her. And she washed off the pepper. But the next day we continued. It was a journey of 2 or 3 years. Everyday pain. Everyday pain. Now, these negative emotions that we have experienced, they've accumulated into wounds. And so what is a wound? A wound is an injury. In the context of our discussion, a wound is an injury in the soul. And that's what is referred to as scars in the soul. And wound that is not tended to, what happens to it? Gets rotten. Gets rotten. It turns to scars. And even the scars get rotten. I always hear Bisola said this. I'm not an emotional person. No. Every one of us, we're all emotional. Because emotion is how we express ourselves. If you're not emotional, it means you're too hard. Like, you don't have empathy in you. So it is okay for women to feel pain and to express their pain. But you know what the society says? That you shouldn't express your pain. So everything that has happened to you, you should become strong. You should be toughened by everything that has happened to you. You shouldn't cry. You shouldn't complain. Don't narrate your story. You don't need that. And so we all have piles and piles of injuries that are untended to, that have become rotten scars. And because of these things that have happened to us, they've developed to resentment, offense, anger, bitterness, whatever you call it. These are the things we refer to as emotional sins. Why? These are sins that are hidden. Because if I go and fornicate, right? If I fornicate right now, I can pretend I didn't fornicate. Right? You don't know. Sorry, if I fornicate, you're going to see it. Or I went to a man's house and I slept with a man. Everybody knows I visited that man. But if I'm angry at Esther, she doesn't know. And so these wounds in our soul lead to emotional sins that are hidden. And they destroy us. The offense is so much. The pain, the hurt is so much. The betrayal is so much. The anger is so much. The jealousy is so much. In the case of my uncle and the wife, meanwhile, the man is my mom's elder brother, same parents. My mom's elder brother. In their case, when I left their house, I vowed never to forgive them. I vowed that they would never give birth. Although when I undid the vow, they didn't give birth. But I vowed they would never give birth. And so I became an adult. I've been in ministry almost all my life. I was preaching the word of God, but I had that in my mind that I would never forgive them. What they did to me ruined my childhood. They made me to have low self-esteem. They made me insecure. If my husband didn't grow up with me, I don't think any man would have been able to marry me. It would only be the man that grew up with me, because I was so insecure. My husband will make a normal comment like, so are you saying I'm not okay? A man that doesn't know where I'm coming from will be like, please, I need to, this is madness, please. But you see how God, like she was saying, God is very careful when it comes to do with his children. He knows that I have to set you with your childhood friend that knows where you're coming from, that knows when you just scream, you just look at them and be like, don't worry, the thing that happened to you is returning. But the damage done was also destroying my marriage. It was also, yes, you can have, God can bless you with a good spouse, but at some point we'll push them to the wall and we'll ruin a beautiful thing. So I was ruining my beautiful marriage. My husband he's a quiet person, he became withdrawn. He has to watch himself before talking to me, because I would explode. But where was that coming from? From the scars in my soul. The wound that I haven't tended to. I love Jeremiah 17 verse 9. It says, I'm reading from NLT, Jeremiah 17 verse 9. I love it so much. It said, the human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? As you're seated here, none of us knows what is in your mind. Whether it's grudge, whether it's malice. That's why the worst form of expression for me is the one you don't say anything. You don't say anything. You just look at me. I hate it. Tell me if I offended you. I'm very vocal, like Bisola said. If I offended you, please say it. Don't just look at me and it's terrible. So our minds have been, packed with all forms of disaster, all forms of hurt and pains in the past. And it has also, fixed us in a way that we begin to think or behave in a certain way. Because what happened to you, or the scars in your wound, in your mind, whether you know it or not, controls how you behave. It controls how you speak, how you act. I've been with people and I just look at them, and the way they behave, I just ask them, when they come to me, I'm like, have you ever looked at the past? Because what is happening to you is coming from the past. And so that's what we are here to do, to detoxify. What does it mean to detoxify? It's a process of cleansing our minds of all the wounds, of all the hurts, of all the pains. Because these wounds and these pains, they've become strongholds. If you say, oh, I used to be a very nice person, but because of what they did to me, I stopped being nice, you're still affected by what has happened to you. I have trained a lot of young people that have lived with me. I was never wicked to them. Why? Because I separated what happened to me from who I am. I always call myself, and you can check me out on Rainbow Youths, as the highest giver. And I say it with pride, because even when I have nothing, I still give, I still pay school fees, I still make sure they're taken care of. Nobody did that for me, because I had to separate that. But that was not all. The other ones, I took it into marriage. The reaction, because the things I couldn't say to my aunt were the things I was not saying to my loved ones. So it's time for us to sit in a circle. We want to visit the wounds draw you back to your past so that we can rebuild. I want to take you back to the past, to the losses, the traumas, the abuse. I remember escaping rape at 17. I remember it was by the grace of God, but I lived with that shame. I wasn't raped, but I'm living with shame of somebody that escaped rape. I don't know if it makes sense to you. So what if I was raped? You see, so the shame, the trauma, the regrets, self-hatred, those are the things that we're about to unpack. Can we start putting the chair around? Because I want us to sit in